but I knew nothing about business, and I wasn't making it for that reason. I was rather stubborn even in those days, and I did not want to be forced. The thought of being forced to do a part that I didn't want to do was abhorrent to me. And the thought that I would have to make a movie, and then after that, these people could submit, could force me to do 6 movies was just, crazy.
What happens when a young actor gets a breakthrough role but pushes his performance too far? That question lingered behind the scenes of The Graduate, a film that became an American classic. While Dustin Hoffman's role as Benjamin Braddock made him a star, some of his choices during filming left his co-stars, especially Anne Bancroft, feeling uneasy. Today we're taking a closer look into what really happened on set. A landmark film with a complicated backstory. The Graduate wasn't just another coming-of-age film. It captured the restless spirit of late 1960s America and helped define a new era in Hollywood. Mike Nichols, directing only his second feature film, took a risk by casting Dustin Hoffman, a relative unknown, as the awkward and confused Benjamin Braddock. It was a bold departure from the typical polished, all-American leads of the time. Hoffman didn't fit the expected mold. He wasn't tall or traditionally handsome, and he had more stage experience than screen presence. But that's exactly what Nichols wanted. He needed someone who looked like he didn't belong. Hoffman brought that energy and insecurity to the role, but he also brought a method-style intensity that clashed with some of his co-stars. Anne Bancroft, a seasoned actress with stage and film credits to her name, had to carry the role of Mrs. Robinson, a character with power, presence, and emotional complexity. While the story focused on generational disconnection and quiet rebellion, the off-screen chemistry between Bancroft and Hoffman was far from seamless. The infamous screen test and a rough start.
And Mike wants to do this, I learned later, in a master shot. I couldn't have told you what a master shot was, but the camera was there, and we're here, and then we get on the bed, and it comes over and around, and then it comes over here, and he wants to do 10 pages all in one take, and moving the camera. So maybe he's just working out himself, or he's trying to see, can this guy who's basically just barely been on the stage, can he do movies?
Before filming began, the tension was already simmering. During an early screen test, Hoffman was so nervous, he made a clumsy, unscripted gesture, putting his hand on Anne Bancroft's breast during the scene. He later said it was an accident, a nervous tic in the heat of improvisation. Bancroft didn't see it that way. She was stunned and disturbed. The moment didn't go over well with Nichols either, though he still chose Hoffman for the lead role. Bancroft, a respected actor who took her craft seriously, saw Hoffman's behavior as unprofessional and inappropriate. Hoffman admitted in later interviews he felt out of place and terrified, especially acting opposite someone as skilled as Bancroft. The fear, he claimed, drove his erratic behavior. But fear doesn't excuse discomfort. Bancroft was playing a character built on control and poise, yet she was being met with unpredictability and awkward physicality. The tension between them wasn't just acting, it had its roots in real, off-camera discomfort, and that unease only deepened as filming continued. Hoffman's aggressive performance style. Once filming began, Hoffman took his method-inspired approach to new extremes. He stayed in character during takes and sometimes between them. Mike Nichols encouraged naturalistic performances, but Hoffman's intensity went beyond direction. During emotional scenes, especially those involving conflict or intimacy with Mrs. Robinson, Hoffman would deliver his lines with force or unpredictability, catching Anne Bancroft off guard. In one scene where Benjamin lashes out at Mrs. Robinson, Hoffman reportedly made sudden physical gestures that weren't rehearsed. Bancroft, ever the professional, didn't break, but crew members recalled how visibly uncomfortable she seemed once the camera stopped rolling. There was also the matter of how Hoffman handled the now iconic hotel scenes. Playing Benjamin's nervousness was part of the role, but Hoffman leaned so heavily into awkwardness and real-life discomfort, it created tension on set. Some involved in production later commented that his raw delivery added to the film's realism, but at a cost. His spontaneity could veer into boundary-crossing behavior, which wasn't always appreciated by his co-stars. Anne Bancroft had come from a background where stage discipline and mutual respect between actors were expected. Hoffman's brash style clashed with her training and personal values. Their scenes together may have sparked with on-screen chemistry, but it came from real discomfort, not carefully built rapport. The slap heard round the set. Perhaps the most talked about moment of friction came during the scene when Mrs. Robinson confronts Benjamin after he starts dating her daughter. During one take, Hoffman shouted at Bancroft so aggressively that Nichols stopped filming. At another point, he unexpectedly slapped her, something not rehearsed, not discussed, and certainly not welcome. Bancroft didn't retaliate on set, but she was furious. While she didn't speak about the moment publicly at the time, others on set recalled her pulling Nichols aside and making it clear she was not comfortable with Hoffman's approach. Mike Nichols, walking a delicate line between pushing for authenticity and protecting his actors, had to step in and tell Hoffman to rein it in. This wasn't an isolated event. Hoffman's need to keep emotions high, even if it meant going off script or violating boundaries, became a pattern. It left Bancroft and the other actors wary of what might happen in the next scene. Hoffman later admitted he acted out of deep insecurity and inexperience, saying he was overwhelmed by the opportunity and unsure how to behave around actors he revered. That didn't change the fact that his co-stars often felt blindsided. The Graduate may have made film history, but behind the scenes, it came with tension that never fully eased. The on-screen tension became the film's secret weapon. As filming continued, the personal discomfort between Hoffman and Bancroft began to show up in the performances, and somehow it worked. The Graduate thrived on awkward pauses, tense glances, and power shifts between Benjamin and Mrs. Robinson. While Nichols carefully constructed each scene, much of the raw energy came from the real-life unease between the leads. The hotel room scenes, in particular, had an undercurrent of anxiety that went beyond acting. Hoffman's stiff body language and hesitations weren't always scripted. They came from real nervousness, sometimes prompted by how off-balance he felt around Bancroft. Meanwhile, Bancroft's cool, confident portrayal was shaped in part by her frustration, a shield she wore both as Mrs. Robinson and as an actor tired of unpredictable scene partners. Nichols saw the tension as a strength and leaned into it. He shaped scenes around the discomfort, often letting moments breathe longer than typical studio films. The result was a tone that felt fresh, strange, and hypnotic, which connected deeply with the audience of the time. The generational and emotional gaps weren't just plot points, they were visible in every frame, often because the actors weren't faking it. Reflections in hindsight. Years later, Hoffman spoke openly about his behavior during The Graduate, and not always with pride. In interviews, he described feeling wildly insecure, starstruck by Bancroft, and out of his depth. He said he was often terrified every day, and his actions, while part of his method, often crossed lines he didn't understand at the time. He didn't deny he made Bancroft uncomfortable. He admitted to being overbearing, impulsive, and too wrapped up in the moment. His hope, he said, was to create something real, but he also recognized that real didn't always mean right. Still, he seemed to struggle with where to draw the line between acting fearlessly and being reckless with others' discomfort. Bancroft, on the other hand, was far more reserved about her experience. She rarely discussed filming in detail, but those close to her said she found it frustrating and tiring. Her professionalism never wavered, but she didn't have fond memories of the chaotic energy Hoffman brought to the set. She was proud of the film's legacy, but didn't romanticize the process behind it. Critics applauded, but the cast lived a different story.
And so I thank you for casting this short, 29-year-old, unknown actor with a prominent nose to play Benjamin Braddock.
When The Graduate was released in 1967, it was met with critical acclaim. Reviewers praised Hoffman's awkward, twitchy performance and Bancroft's cool, commanding presence. The film tapped into the mood of the moment, reflecting a younger generation's dissatisfaction with the expectations placed on them. Audiences found it funny, uncomfortable, and sharply observant. Few knew what had gone into making those performances feel so authentic. The growing discomfort between Hoffman and Bancroft was invisible to most viewers. To the press, they were simply acting out a strange and complicated affair. Hoffman was labeled a new kind of leading man, neurotic, boyish, unrefined, and Bancroft cemented her status as a screen legend. But behind the applause, there were lingering frustrations. Bancroft was sometimes overshadowed in coverage, her performance treated as a support beam for Hoffman's rise. For a veteran actress who brought emotional depth and technical skill to the role, the imbalance stung. Hoffman may have taken creative risks, but Bancroft carried the emotional weight with far less chaos, and with far less recognition at the time. Even among the crew, opinions were mixed. Some admired Hoffman's energy, others felt his unpredictability made the set harder for everyone. As the film racked up awards and box office records, the less glamorous side of its production faded from the spotlight. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite moment from The Graduate? Let us know in the comments section below.